Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to talk to you guys about healing. Healing is one of the most powerful effects that we have in this game for characters. It's one of the most sought after roles on ISO sets and on obelisks, and it's generally one of the easiest and most consistent ways to cover up mistakes when you play the game. So characters who can heal or characters who can leverage healing more effectively are generally very prized and very valuable characters in this game. So I wanted to run down for you a list of the 10 best healing characters. There are more than 10, believe it or not, but I will bring you the list of the 10 that I think are the best. And I also want to do a little bit of a comparison at the end with number 1 and number 2. Full disclosure, guys, before we start, we're not going to get into number 10 just yet. But some of these characters, as you will see, require a uniform in order to have healing. They don't all have it by default, and others need their leadership or they need tier 2, etc. But in one way or another, through crystals or through tickets or through grinding, you will be able to get these characters to heal. They do not require ISO sets or obelisks. So that's the only kind of asterisk or caveat for this list. So guys, without further ado, let's get into it. Number 10 on the list, Malekith. I think I'm pronouncing that right, guys. I don't know, but he looks like he's from Alice in Wonderland. He's one of the Queen's fucking knights. Half his face is Two-Face. His body is just ridiculous. But anyways, guys, that's not what we're here. We're not roasting the guy. We're looking at his uniform because his uniform is actually what gives him the heal. As you can see there, with a 7-second cooldown, when he gets hit with a 12% rate, he will heal for 10% of his HP. That's actually very good. 10% is not a lot, but you can scale that with an obelisk that gives recovery rate. And because it's only got a 7-second cooldown, that can come up a lot. So if you have an obelisk as well that gives invincibility, it gives an invincibility bubble, you can abuse that to kind of bounce up and down and kind of never die or be very hard to kill. It doesn't put him on someone like Moon Knight's level, that's why he's number 10 on this list, but it definitely addresses the character's biggest weakness, which is squishiness. A lot of his skills have CC or crowd control, so the CC goes very well with the heal to make the character much tankier and be able to play the character for a lot longer without dying. That's why he's number 10. Number 9 on the list also needs a uniform. It's my man Iron Fist. I don't feature Iron Fist on a lot of my other videos because I honestly don't like the character. I think he's very one-dimensional and a bit boring to play, but high risk, high reward, basically. With either of his uniforms, you get a very excellent effect. You get an invincibility proc at 30% HP and a 10% heal. So again, 10% just like Malekith, but this time it's on a 30-second cooldown. So the reason why I rank this one higher than Malekith is because it's less, you get it less often, because 10% for 30 seconds versus 10% for 7 seconds. But it's actually a little bit more consistent because Malekith needs to get hit, and it's only a 12% chance, whereas this is guaranteed. You don't have to get hit, or you don't have to be hitting. If you're just taking dot damage, bleed damage, poison, whatever, or even if you reflect your own damage back at you and you hit 30%, boom, heal plus invincibility. So excellent proc, and it makes the character much more tanky and viable than he was previously, and definitely should be scaled and augmented with a healing obelisk. But very good heal, and that's why he comes in at number 9. Number 8 does not need a uniform, but she does need her tier 2, and that is Sister Grimm. When you tier 2 her, she gets this passive called Blood Magic. When she triggers her 6-star skill, she's going to heal for 10% of her max HP, and that's on a 3-second cooldown. If you go over to the skill, Rock and Roll has a 15-second cooldown, so you can get that down to about, let's say, 8 seconds conservatively. So every 8 seconds, without fail, you can heal for 10%. So that, in my mind, is obviously a lot better than Malekith's, and it's actually better than Iron Fist as well, because you can keep on proccing it. You don't even have to play the whole skill and watch the whole animation, because she is rooted during that skill. You can just tap it. As soon as you see the heal pop, you can switch into another skill, especially one like Now You See Me, where she can move back. So very excellent tier 2 passive. Definitely makes the character a lot tankier and a lot more viable for endgame content, and that's why she's number 8 on the list. Number 7, we have one of our first passive healers. This is Gwenpool. She doesn't actually need to do anything to heal. It's built into her 4-star passive. When her HP is below 90%, which is basically all the time, she's going to get a 1% max HP recovery for 1 second with a cooldown of 2 seconds. So basically, after you get hit every 2 seconds, you're going to see a pop-up anywhere between 100 HP, and I think you can get it up to 400 or 500 with the right obelisk. So this one is not as strong. Obviously, the effect takes a lot longer to kick in, but it is very good because you don't have to do anything. You just play the game and you'll see that heal come up again and again and again. It doesn't make the character invincible. Thank you for the Dimension Rift Tabasco sauce. Very spicy indeed. It doesn't make the character invincible at all, and she can still definitely die, especially as a speed character with lower defenses. But it's really great that it's passive, and I really like the playstyle that it encourages, where it's kind of, you're jumping in and out, you're doing some damage, then you're kiting, and you're watching that heal, collect back up so you can go back into the fray. And it's very true to the character's comic origins, or the other character's comic origins that this one rips off. Thank you, Big99, for the Dimension Rift, but I got one fucking problem, and it's all these Dimension Rifts. So please, guys, I'm trying to make a video. So yeah. Very good passive healing. Great that it's on all the time, and that's why she's number 7. Number 6 on the list does not need his tier 2, but he's an excellent healer. It is Carnage. Carnage is a little bit of a controversial healer because a lot of people don't like his heal. They find it clunky and they find it very difficult to perform. I personally really like it, and I think it's one of the cleverest ways of applying a heal to a character. And I think we should see more of this because it rewards intelligent plays, it rewards proper positioning, it rewards good handling and good game mechanics, so I really like it. Basically, when he uses his Camouflage Strike, it's going to drop down these 5, I believe it's 5 or 6 blobs, and then if you collect the blobs, you will heal for anywhere between 1,000 and 3,000 if you, again, have a good recovery rate obelisk. But the only tricky part is if you don't collect the blobs, or if the enemy runs over the blob first, they will get hit with a speed down or a movement speed debuff for them, and then you cannot collect the heal. So it's a bit conditional, guys. It's not a guaranteed heal, but it heals for a lot more. If you collect all 6 blobs or 5 blobs or whatever, you can heal for almost, your max HP, which is excellent. And it's also a full iframe skill, so it's a very defensive skill all around. You get full protection, and then that jumps into potential healing. And also, a lot of times, a lot of people, myself included, will do the 3 skill into the 5 skill. That rotation will often have Carnage jumping into one of the blobs after you've pushed the mob or you've pushed the Frost Beast back. So incidentally, you end up collecting at least 1 blob, maybe about 20-30% of the time. So because of that, and because of how strong Carnage already is, I think it's an excellent healing for an excellent character. Thank you for the Dimension Rift, dude. That's why he's number 6 on the list. Number 5, did I advertise that I was making a video right now? This is insane. There's actually so many Dimension Rifts. Anyways, guys, number 5 on the list. He's not my favorite, but I have to respect the heal on this big Man of Steel. Where is he? Hyperion. Hyperion is the other paywall character, very commonly and very frequently compared to Carnage. I did a comparison myself in a later video that you guys can check out. And his heal is a little bit different than Carnage's. Basically it's an instant heal. It heals for a lot more. You have to level up the skill, keep that in mind, so you have to invest some gold. But once you invest that gold, it's a 20% heal for instantaneously, and then it's got a cooldown of 18 seconds that you can bring down to 9 seconds. So every 9 seconds you can heal back up for 1/5 of your health. Very, very good, and you can make that more than 1/5 if you get recovery rate bonus obelisks, which you should absolutely do. Makes the character very, very tanky, but you have to be playing manually, of course, because he may not prioritize this skill at all. He may heal, when he's at full health if the AI is playing with him. But overall, it's an excellent heal. The character loses points for me in every other category as a character, but as specifically a character who heals, he's one of the 5 best, and that's why he's number 5 on this list. Fantastic heal. Very, very strong. Number 4 on the list is going to be Doctor Strange. Now, I'm probably going to get a little bit of shit for this from people who think that his heal is stronger. Obviously, the character is the best on the list, guys. Doctor Strange is number 1 on the list of everything. He's even number 1 on the list of female characters. You don't know that, but go back and rewatch my video, and you'll see number 1 is actually Doctor Strange. But for Doctor Strange, you do need his uniform. As you can see, when he uses the Demons of Denak, which happens to be one of his highest DPS skills, if not the highest, he will heal for 8% of his health, and that's a 1-second cooldown. And coincidentally, when you use the Sorcerer Supreme, all of his skills have a 1-second cooldown. So basically, once you use the 5 skill, you can use the Demons of Denak every second for, every 1 second and heal for 8%. So you can basically hit the 5 and then hit the 2, somewhere like between 4 and 5 times, depending on your cast speed. And then you will be able to basically heal up, 8% 4 or 5 times, probably bringing you close to maximum health. Very, very tanky, very excellent. Awesome that it's bundled into a uniform because he already looks hella handsome as Benedict Cumberbatch. He gets some extra added bonuses, and that's just icing on the cake. And of course, Doctor Strange is a fantastic character, so having him with a heal just makes him that much stronger, and that's why he got placed at number 4 on my list. The top 3 guys are like the healing gurus. They bring the most heals. They bring the fattest vapes around. And we're going to start it off with a tier 2-able Moon Knight at number 3. So before tier 2, Moon Knight does not have any healing. He's just your run-of-the-mill bad combat character with a couple of iframes. But when you tier 2 him, he gets the Moon Force, and that force goes right up your ass to the tune of 30% max HP recovery when his health is below 30% with a 7-second cooldown. This is fucking nuts. So you can kind of compare this to Gwenpool's passiveness of her healing, where it just triggers automatically. You could be sucking your thumb and this shit happens. To the percentage or the range of Iron Fist, because they're both at 30% health, which is particularly low. But then 30% is gigantic. There is no other character in this game, not even Hyperion heals for this much. And this is triggered regardless of what you're doing. It's amazing. It makes the character, basically turns him from a 0 to a hero, guys. One of the best passives, if not the best tier 2 passive in the game, literally the fattest heal, literally the biggest numbers on a single heal that you can find in this game. Very, very good. In certain situations with the right obelisk, with an invincibility proc, Moon Knight is almost impossible to kill. So, if a character is impossible to kill in PvP, that's pretty fucking good, I would say. That's why he's number 3 on the list. Now, the reason why he's not higher on the list, guys, is because of number 2 and number 1. Now, I do have a strong place in my heart for characters that self-heal. I think it's really interesting, and it makes the character very fun to play because you can rely on those heals and you can kind of be more reckless, and that fits my play style. But there is an even deeper and dearer place in my heart for characters that can heal other characters, and I like to call these ones the helpers. Anyways, guys, I'm not going to call them that. So these tunes are obviously Groot and the Ancient One. Those 2 tunes can heal other characters. Yes, you can heal with Carnage's blobs, yada yada yada, but the Ancient One and Groot have an actual healing circle, which is just like, if you've played MMORPGs, it looks like what the Cleric class or the Priest class does for those things. It's very, very similar. And so that's why they're number 2 and number 1 respectively. Now, the question is actually which one is number 2 and which one is number 1. So I debated about this a little bit in my head, and I actually compared their bubbles, their healing spheres, and that's where the comparison comes in at the end of the video, guys. And ultimately, I think that the Ancient One comes in at number 2, but is very close on the heels of Groot for that number 1 spot. And if the Ancient One had had a different tier 2 passive, I believe that the Ancient One would have been the best healing character in the game, which is huge because Groot has been cemented. He's been rooted into that spot as the number 1 healing character since he was introduced to the game like a year ago. So for someone to come in who doesn't have a lot of, healing properties, I mean, I guess you can read into the healing, but anyways, for someone like the Ancient One to come in and kind of almost uproot Groot for that top spot is gigantic, is massive. So we're gonna do a jumping back and forth comparison between the 2. Let me just set them up here on a team together so I can compare. Here we go. And so we're gonna see just what they do. So the Ancient One's heal is on the 5 skill. It's a 5% recovery, and it's got a cooldown time of 20 seconds. So with max skill cooldown, you can bring that to 10 seconds. So you can basically have this on all the time because it lasts for about 11.5 seconds. I timed it. So you can basically have this heal up all the time. So what's good about this heal? Well, it heals for 5%. You can switch over, you can tag in other characters and they can pick up the heal. The radius is very large. It lasts for, like I said, about 11.5 seconds, and it does damage when it's initially cast, so it can clear away some of the trash mobs around the Ancient One when it's cast. Let's go back to Groot's now. Groot's heal is on his 3 skill, not the 5 skill, and it's also a 5% recovery, but this one is a 40-second cooldown, so much longer cooldown. Literally double the time. So this one you could get down to about 20 seconds with max skill cooldown, which is still pretty long time to wait, and the area of effect is lower, or smaller I should say. It's not quite half the size, it's a little bit more than half, but you can visibly see that it's smaller than the Ancient One's healing circle if you do testing for yourself. In addition, it seems like Spore lasts just slightly shorter, slightly less time than the Ancient Ones. So in my testing, I casted one and then I switched and casted the other. The Ancient One's heal lasts about 11.5 seconds, and Groot's heal lasts about 10 seconds. So it lasts a little bit less time, and it has a smaller area of effect, and it doesn't do damage when it's cast, because Groot just casts it and then proceeds to do other Groot-like things. Why did I pick the Ancient One as number 2 and Groot as number 1? Well, for the simple fact that Groot heals himself when he dies. So there's 2 reasons why, but the first reason is because Groot heals himself when he dies. So when he dies, he actually comes back to life with 50% of his max HP, which is amazing. But then the other reason is because with Groot's tier 2, he will passively heal the team even if he's not in play. So he can just be sitting on the bench, and he'll give a 20% heal with a 25% chance to trigger when anyone on your team is hit. So that's a fantastic heal. That's basically Hyperion's heal at maximum rank at level 6 every 15 seconds with a 25% chance to trigger. So it's less consistent than the Ancient Ones, but I just don't see that much utility in switching to a character, casting a heal bubble, and then switching to another character. It sounds really good in theory, but in practice, you're honestly not going to get more than 1 or 2 of those off in a given game before you just win or you die. Like, even when I have Groot on my team in world boss battles, even when I first started playing world boss, I never got more than 1 or 2, maybe 3 if I was lucky, switches into Groot plus the circle heal, and then switch out. It's just too clunky to do too often. So I think even though overwhelmingly the Ancient One has a better healing bubble, I think it's Groot overall who's the more consistent healer for the team, and that's why Groot is number 1, and that's why the Ancient One is number 2. Lastly, guys, I wanted to give my shout out to the honorable mention squad. These characters did not make the list, but they also do have healing in one form or another, so I wanted to kind of shout them out because it's very interesting, and I think we should have more characters that have healing because it's a really cool mechanic, and I really like it. Top of my list, guys, honorable mention, of course, Camilla Khan. Love this character. If you guys have checked any of the live streams, I go berserk when she clears a Shadowlands level for me. She has kind of, I like to call it the mini Moon Knight skill. When her HP is below 30%, just like Moon Knight, she gets a 10% heal. Not like Moon Knight. A third of Moon Knight's heal, but it triggers with the same cooldown and at the same condition. So very cool skill. Pretty useful, not useful as Moon Knight's, but hopefully she'll get something better with her tier 2 passive. Next up we have Blade, and I wish Blade's leadership was stronger, and I wish more characters had Blade's leadership. Not too many more, but maybe, you know, a blast and a speed type character, or at least a speed type character. And he basically gives an HP recovery with damage dealt. He basically gives a life leech or a life drain passive or active effect, I guess, with his leadership, which is really cool. Hard to use, long cooldown, but very cool. I think it would be a lot better and more useful if it didn't have a cooldown, if it was just active all the time and it just healed for less, kind of like Gwenpool's. But you know, we can't have all the nice things, guys, or else, you know, Hulk would be a strong character. Next we have, I skipped her before, but I'll go back to her. We have Satana. Satana actually gets a heal with her 4-star passive skill. When she's attacking, she gets an HP recovery of 10% with a cooldown time of 30 seconds. So long cooldown time, but pretty cool, and it's nice that she gets it when she's attacking because that is helpful to her because you can trigger it yourself. 2 more on the list, guys. We have Warwolf. He's got kind of a sneaky one, Power of the Lycan. When he hits with a critical attack, he recovers 10% of his HP with a 10-second cooldown. Again, a nice effect that I wish more characters had, because I think it's really cool, and I think it's got a lot of potential for strategy. And last on the list, guys, kind of the troll of the group, my main man, big fucking headed MODOK. His 5 skill head on has a sneaky like 0.5% recovery at the end. Pretty much a useless heal, pretty much a troll heal, but nevertheless, it's fun to watch and fun to see it kind of pop off for like 50 health or like 100 health sometimes. So that's the list, guys. Those are the characters that I selected that I think are the top 10. Let me know what you guys think of my list. I did not include intentionally someone like Thanos, because I know there is a heal, but it's not, consistent, and it's random and whatever. And Thanos has enough going for him already, so I'll just acknowledge the character here. And yes, I know as well Hellstrom has a heal on his tier 2, but it's just not as good as any of the other ones, and that's why he didn't make my list. And also it's a tier 2, so you need to put a lot into the character to get that out at the end. So that's the list, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know what your thoughts are. And of course, guys, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.